SKOL Vikings Nation, buckle up, because the Minnesota Vikings are stirring up some serious noise as we head into the 2025 season. Our wide receiver room was supposed to be a powerhouse with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and Rondale Moore, but injuries and suspensions have thrown a wrench into those plans. Are we on the verge of a blockbuster trade to bring back a Vikings legend? Let's dive into the latest Vikings news, including the sizzling Adam Thielen trade rumors that have fans buzzing. Hit that like button if you're as pumped as I am, and let's break it down. The Vikings kicked off training camp with sky-high expectations for our receiving core. Justin Jefferson, the best wideout in the game, was ready to dominate alongside rising star Jordan Addison and new addition Rondale Moore. But here's the kicker. Addison's facing a 3-game suspension, Moore's on injured reserve, and Jalen Nailor's nursing a hand injury. Suddenly, our depth chart looks shakier than a rookie QB facing Aaron Donald. What's the mood in Vikings Nation right now? Drop your thoughts in the comments. NFL Network's Tom Pelissero dropped a bombshell, saying the Vikings are seriously exploring the trade market for a veteran wide receiver to support J.J. McCarthy in his second year. With Jefferson expected to be ready for Week 1 against the Bears, the question is, who's catching passes alongside him? The team's making calls, and one name keeps popping up like a purple flare: Adam Thielen. Could our hometown hero really come back to Minnesota? Stick around as we unpack this drama. Let's talk about the chaos in our wide receiver room. Jordan Addison's suspension stems from a 2024 DUI arrest, meaning he's out until Week 4. That's a big blow, considering his 911 yards and 7 touchdowns last season. Meanwhile, Rondale Moore's injury, while not season-ending, has him sidelined for now, and Jalen Nailor's hand issue leaves his Week 1 status up in the air. Are you feeling the panic, Vikings fans? Or do you trust Kwesi Adofo-Mensah to fix this? Enter Adam Thielen, the Minnesota native who carved out a legendary 9-year run with the Vikings. From 2014 to 2022, he racked up 534 catches, 6,682 yards, and 55 touchdowns, earning 2 Pro Bowls and an All-Pro nod. The guy's a route-running wizard with hands stickier than a Minnesota winter. But at 34, is he still the answer? Let's hear it. Would you welcome Thielen back with open arms? The Panthers, Thielen's current team, have a crowded receiver room with young studs like Xavier Legette and Teteroa McMillan. That's got trade rumors swirling, with insiders like Pelissero suggesting Carolina might let him go for the right price. Imagine Thielen back in purple, mentoring J.J. McCarthy and stabilizing our offense. Is this the reunion we've all been dreaming of, or just off-season hype? Drop your predictions below. Coach Kevin O'Connell didn't exactly cool the Thielen rumors when he spoke with Kay Adams on Up and Adams. Smiling ear to ear, he called himself a huge fan of Thielen, praising his leadership with Carolina's young roster. O'Connell's got a soft spot for the guy who helped him kick off his Vikings tenure in 2022. But is he dropping hints or just being polite? What do you think, SKOL Nation? Thielen's stats with the Panthers prove he's still got it. In 2024, he hauled in 103 catches for 1,014 yards and 4 touchdowns, despite playing on a struggling offense. This year, he's got 8 receptions for 109 yards and a score in just 3 games, even with a hamstring tweak. The man's a clutch performer, but his $6.25 million salary raises questions. Can the Vikings afford him without breaking the bank? The trade buzz is heating up, with names like Terry McLaurin, Alan Lazard, and Kendrick Bourne also floating around. But Thielen's familiarity with O'Connell's system and his Minnesota roots make him the perfect fit for a short-term boost. Picture him lining up in the slot, moving the chains, and schooling our young receivers. Is this the move that gets us to the playoffs? Let me know in the comments. Let's zoom out for a second. The Vikings' offense is built around Justin Jefferson, who's back from his hamstring scare and ready to torch defenses. Last season, he posted 1,074 yards in just 10 games. Imagine what he'll do with a full slate. But with Addison out and more sidelined, J.J. McCarthy needs a reliable target to avoid a rough start. Who's stepping up if we don't make a trade? Thielen's not just a feel-good story. He's a proven playmaker. His 76.5 PFF receiving grade in 2024 shows he's still beating defenders with crisp routes and sure hands. Plus, he's worked out with McCarthy this offseason, building chemistry that could pay off big time. Vikings fans, are you ready to see Thielen back in US Bank Stadium, hauling in passes like it's 2018? The Panthers might be open to a deal, especially since they're focusing on younger receivers. A conditional late-round pick like a 6th or 7th could seal it, per The Athletic. But here's the catch. Thielen's 35 in August, and his role might shrink once Addison returns. Is he worth it for a short-term spark? Or should we roll with our current roster? Hit the comments with your take. Now, let's get real about the Vikings situation. Losing Rondale Moore to injured reserve hurts. His speed was supposed to stretch defenses. Jalen Nailor's shown flashes, but his hand injury makes him a question mark. Without a veteran addition, we might see guys like Lucky Jackson or Tristan Jackson starting opposite Jefferson. How confident are you in our depth, SKOL Nation? Thielen's return could be a game-changer. He knows O'Connell's playbook inside out, and his veteran savvy could steady McCarthy, who's still finding his footing as QB1. Imagine Thielen snagging a contested catch in the red zone, just like he did 55 times as a Viking. That's the kind of reliability we need right now, right? But there's a flip side. Some insiders, like Ben Goesling from the Star Tribune, think Thielen's price tag might be too steep for a temporary fix. At $6.25 million, he's not cheap, and his age means he's not a long-term solution. Should we spend draft capital on a 35-year-old, or trust our young guns to step up? Let's hear your game plan in the comments. The rumor mill's in overdrive, and it's not just Thielen. NFL.com's Kevin Patra listed names like Tyreek Hill, Terry McLaurin, and even Amari Cooper as potential trade targets. Hill's a long shot, his contract's massive, but McLaurin or Cooper could add serious firepower. Which veteran receiver would you love to see in purple, Vikings fans? Thielen, though, feels like destiny. He grew up cheering for Chris Carter and Randy Moss, wearing their jerseys in his Detroit Lakes backyard. Bringing him back would be like a Hollywood script. Local kid returns to save the day. But is it realistic? Or are we just caught up in nostalgia? Drop your thoughts below. Carolina's in a rebuild, and Thielen's expendable with their young talent stepping up. A trade could net them a draft pick while giving us a proven weapon. Picture Thielen and Jefferson together, with McCarthy slinging passes. That's a combo that could light up the NFC North. Are you buying the hype, or staying skeptical? Let me know. Let's talk JJ McCarthy. Our second-year QB is under pressure to deliver, especially with a thin receiver group. He's shown flashes in preseason, but without reliable targets, he could struggle early. Thielen's veteran presence could be the security blanket McCarthy needs. Who else thinks JJ's ready to shine with some help? Thielen's leadership is undeniable. In Carolina, he's mentored young receivers like Jalen Coker while still producing. His 2.06 yards per route run in 2024 ranks him among the league's best, per PFF. Bringing that to Minnesota could stabilize our offense and boost McCarthy's confidence. Is this the missing piece for a playoff run? But here's the big question. What's the cost? A late-round pick seems doable, but the Panthers might hold firm after rejecting trade offers last year. If they're 3 to 5 by the trade deadline, though, all bets are off. Should we pull the trigger now or wait for roster cuts? Vikings Nation, weigh in below. The Vikings front office is working overtime. GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah just traded Harrison Phillips to the Jets for a 2026 sixth-round pick, freeing up cap space. Could that be a sign we're gearing up for a bigger move like Thielen? What's your gut telling you, SKOL Nation? Thielen's contract is manageable, $6.25 million base salary, with the Vikings sitting on over $26 million in cap space, per over the cap. That's plenty of room to make a splash. But is Thielen the best use of that money? Or should we chase a bigger name like McLaurin? Let's debate it in the comments. The clock's ticking. With roster cutdowns looming, the Vikings need to act fast. Thielen's familiarity and production make him a low-risk, high-reward option. Imagine the roar at US Bank Stadium if he scores in Week 1. Are you ready for that moment? Or is it just a pipe dream? Hit me with your thoughts. Let's not forget the bigger picture. The Vikings won 14 games last season with Sam Darnold filling in for McCarthy. Now, with JJ as QB1, we're aiming for a deep playoff run. But without a strong WR2, our offense could stall. How much pressure is on Kwesi to get this right? Thielen's not the only option. The Patriots might move Kendrick Bourne or Jalen Polk, and the Jets could part with Allen Lazard. But none of those guys have Thielen's history with the Vikings or his chemistry with O'Connell. Is Thielen the safest bet, or should we take a swing on someone else? Drop your pick below. The trade deadline's November 5th, but the Vikings can't wait that long with Week 1 approaching. A move now could set the tone for the season. Picture Thielen hauling in a game winner against the Bears. That's the kind of magic we need. Are you all in on this reunion, SKOL Nation? What makes Thielen so special? It's not just his stats: 534 catches, 6,682 yards, 55 touchdowns as a Viking. It's his story. An undrafted kid from Minnesota State who became a fan favorite through grit and heart. Who else gets chills thinking about him back in purple? His 2017-18 seasons were unreal. Back-to-back 1,000-yard campaigns, including 91 catches for 1,276 yards in 2018. Even now, at 34, he's a chain mover with elite hands. Could he be the veteran voice our young receivers need? Let's hear your take, Vikings fans. Carolina's youth movement might push Thielen out, but their hesitation to trade him last year shows his value. If we snag him for a 6th rounder, it's a steal. But what if another team like the Patriots or Eagles jumps in? Should we outbid them or stand pat? Drop your strategy in the comments. Let's talk about the fan base. Vikings Nation is buzzing on X, with posts hyping a Thielen reunion. K. Adams is all in, tweeting, "Adam Thielen to Minnesota." Literally, yes. Even Tom Pelissero's fueling the fire, saying the Vikings are working the phones. Are you riding this hype train, or keeping it cool? Thielen's Minnesota roots run deep. He grew up idolizing Chris Carter and Randy Moss, and his 2018 playoff touchdown against the Saints is etched in Vikings lore. Bringing him back would be a love letter to the fans. But is it worth the cost, or are we chasing nostalgia? Let me know below. The Panthers' rebuild could make Thielen expendable, especially with McMillan emerging as their WR1. A trade now could give us a spark while Carolina gets draft capital. Imagine Thielen mentoring Addison and Naylor. Is this the move that pushes us over the hump? SKOL Nation, sound off. Now, let's address the elephant in the room: Thielen's age. He turns 35 in August, and while his hands and route running are still elite, he's not the speedster he once was. Can he still keep up in O'Connell's high-octane offense? What's your confidence level, Vikings fans? His 2024 PFF grades: 76.5 receiving, 73rd in separation rate, prove he's still effective. But with Addison back in Week 4, Thielen might slide to WR3 or WR4. Is that a role he'd embrace, or could it cause locker room tension? Let's debate it in the comments. The Vikings have options. Free agents like Amari Cooper are still out there, and roster cuts could shake loose more talent. But Thielen's familiarity and leadership make him unique. If we don't act, another team might snag him. Should we roll the dice or play it safe? Hit me with your thoughts. Let's look at JJ McCarthy's perspective. Our QB's got big shoes to fill, and a thin receiver room could make his early games brutal. Thielen's worked with him this offseason, building trust. Could that chemistry be the key to a hot start? What do you think, SKOL Nation? Thielen's red zone prowess, 55 career touchdowns, could give McCarthy a go-to guy in crunch time. His ability to find soft spots in zone coverage is perfect for a young QB. But at $6.25 million, is he worth it for a few games? Drop your take below. The Vikings' offense thrives on precision, and Thielen's a master at it. His 2.06 yards per route run last year shows he's still a difference maker. If we land him, Week 1 against the Bears could be a statement game. Are you dreaming of a Thielen touchdown in purple? Let me know. What's the vibe in Carolina? The Panthers are building around Bryce Young, and their receiver room is stacked with young talent like Leggett, McMillan, and Jalen Coker. Thielen's leadership is valuable, but his $10.1 million cap hit in 2025 might tempt them to trade. Should we pounce on this opportunity? A conditional 6th or 7th round pick could get it done, per clutch points. That's a low price for a guy who's still producing at a high level. But if Carolina holds firm, we might need to sweeten the deal. What's the most you'd give up for Thielen, Vikings fans? The trade market's heating up, with teams like the Jets and 49ers also hunting receivers. If we want Thielen, we need to act fast. Imagine him back in Minnesota, catching passes from McCarthy and firing up the crowd. Is this the move that takes us to the Super Bowl? Drop your predictions. All right, Vikings Nation, it's crunch time. The 2025 season's almost here, and our receiver room's in flux. Thielen could be the answer, bringing leadership, reliability, and a touch of Minnesota magic. Are you ready to see number 19 back in purple? Or should we look elsewhere? Let's hear it. The Vikings have the cap space and the need, but the clock's ticking. With roster cuts looming and week 1 around the corner, Kwesi and O'Connell need to make a move. Thielen's a fan favorite, a proven playmaker, and a perfect fit. Is this the reunion that changes everything? SKOL Nation, let's keep this fire burning. Smash that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more Vikings news. Share this with your fellow fans, and let's get loud about our team. Will Thielen come home? Let's find out together. SKOL.